And welcome back to Sports the NEMO Way, the Phoenix Suns episode. So as you can imagine, we are discussing the all-time starting five for the Phoenix Suns, which I feel like she'll be a fairly interesting squad. We have no guests today, but all five of us are here. That's been a struggle here recently, so I'm glad that we could all five make it this week. And let's get started. Drew, who is your Suns' all-time point guard?
Kevin Johnson.
He's also mine.
He's also mine.
He's mine. Good deal.
No fucking way. We all got Kevin Johnson.
Yeah.
No, when you said
Screw
that,
Steve Nash.
when you said off air that you had an interesting point guard, I thought you were going to do somebody like off the wall, like
I was trying to think of
Kidd or
something.
Marbury
I
or
figured
somebody.
you guys would have Nash.
If Nash doesn't make this team, he's done. He won't make
Yeah.
a team if he doesn't make this one. Because we've already done Dallas. And did we put him on Dallas? Or did we put Kidd?
I think
No,
we put Kidd.
we
I think we
Kidd.
put Kidd.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
put
so
Kidd.
Nash, a two-time MVP, won't make a team.
Which is nuts because
That
Kevin
is.
Johnson had way better seasons than him, and he doesn't even have any accolades. I mean, he's 5-time All-NBA, 3-time All-Star. He got most improved one year. But in Phoenix, he averaged 18, 9 assists, 3 rebounds, 1.5 steals, and 0.2 blocks. I mean, those are all better numbers than Nash.
Did you say he had more All-NBAs than All-Stars?
Yeah, he has 5 All-NBAs and 3 All-Stars.
Like, we saw that a lot in football. I don't think we've seen that in basketball. Have we?
I don't think so, no.
Because it was like a popular thing with the Pro Bowl and All-Pro in football, but I don't remember seeing this in basketball.
Maybe he was a second half of the season guy. You know, he would
Maybe.
not have a great first half, not make the All-Star team, and then make the All-NBA. I don't know. That's
Yeah.
weird.
Well, because way back in our original basketball thing, we had one episode where we went into this deep 30-minute hole of going through all like the old All-NBA squads, and Kevin Johnson made like three first teams in his
Yeah, we
prime.
went through, yeah.
So if you're first team All-Pro, or All-Pro,
All-NBA.
All-NBA,
Well, I
I
mean,
don't know.
he's 20-12, 22-11, 22-10, 19-10. Those are 4 straight seasons in Phoenix.
yeah.
Those are pretty nice numbers.
Well, I think the other thing is Nash's. It's hard to get past Nash's defense.
Yeah.
Nash's defense is so horrid that it's just
Mm-hmm.
hard to get past, even though he was so amazing on offense. Kevin Johnson, he's at least more athletic and a little bulkier. He could do a little bit better, I feel like, in my opinion. But
Saying Kevin Johnson has that finals appearance, right? He was on that team, right?
Yes, he
Yeah.
was.
yeah, him
They
and
have him
Barkley
listed
were
at
just great.
6'1", 180, so he's pretty tiny.
I mean, he wasn't tall. I wasn't mean like tall, but he's like thicker than Steve Nash. At least I thought, like lower body wise, but maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I would think of it. I kind of thought of him that same way, but I mean, he's listed at less weight than Nash,
What do they have Nash at?
like 190.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah,
I
but he's
mean,
6'3" instead of 6'1", so.
Oh, that could be.
By the way, I don't think we mentioned it either. He's also pretty efficient. He's 49% from the field, 30% from three, so not great there. But 84% from the free throw line.
Wasn't he freakishly athletic in his prime?
Yeah, it's pretty athletic.
Like, he was
I-
dunking on people. Like,
Yeah.
there were highlights of him throwing
Mhm.
it down on people. Like, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the defensively and just providing a little bit more scoring punch, I think, was the deciding factor for me going with Johnson over Nash. I like Nash. I'm not Drew. I'm not a hater of all point guards or whatever. Any point guard that ever played in Phoenix, Drew can't stand or
Hey,
something.
I like Kevin Johnson. It's just after Kevin Johnson, whoever the point guard
Okay,
is.
I don't like Hall of Fame point guards that played in Phoenix.
Nash and Paul.
Um,
Didn't like Chambers either. Tom Chambers.
that's right.
Also
that's
not a
right.
Phoenix guy.
All-time great
Not a point
Tom
guard,
Chambers.
but-
Get
Sorry, I had to
outta
throw that in.
Get
I
out of
thought
here.
that. Tom Chambers.
I'm glad he didn't make the Supersonics list. I've been so mad.
He can make this list. You never know.
Oh, no. Better not.
He had some prime years in Phoenix.
He did indeed.
Oh, no.
Actually, wasn't his famous dunk in Phoenix?
It was.
Yeah, I believe it
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
I mean, he has nice numbers in Phoenix.
I can't remember what I was gonna say anymore.
I'm going on about, I don't even know, Hall of Fame people.
We did ramble
Yeah.
a while for the
Mm.
first person.
Yeah, normally we don't take that long.
You know.
Yeah. So does anybody else have anything to add on KJ before we move on?
Nope.
No.
All right. Well, Wade, who is your shooting guard?
Well, I mean, I thought about a number of wings because they have had some really talented guys go through there, but I kept coming back to Devin Booker.
As did I.
As did I.
As did I.
I mean, he's
And Ray makes 5.
All right. Well, we're unanimous backcourt.
I mean, I think he has. I mean, he's one of the elite players in today's NBA. I mean, I think he just made first team All NBA 2 years ago, and then I don't remember if he played enough games to qualify this past year. But
Well, that doesn't come into effect yet, but he's a one-time All NBA, 3-time All Star.
no, I mean like if you're just hurt, you just not. Sometimes you still might think.
Oh
if you're
yeah,
hurt,
yeah.
you know, like-
Yeah, I thought you may didn't hit the 65 game threshold.
No,
and I was like, that isn't until this year.
I just know, if you if you miss a bunch of times, sometimes they keep you off the NBA. But yeah. So, but I mean, he's an elite scorer. He'll get you 25 to 30 a night. He's a lot better at facilitating the past couple of years. He even runs the point from time to time, and I just think he's the most talented two we were going to get in this position, and he's on pace to be a Hall of Fame shooting guard. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's 24, 4-4, 46%, 35%, 86%. So he's not the shooter he was advertised as coming out. Everybody pretty much he was advertised as a knockdown 3-point shooter coming out in the draft. He's never really met that mark, but he's a solid shooter.
he is pretty nasty in the mid range.
Yes, he does have a really nice mid-range game.
Yeah. He's just a shot maker. Him and Kyrie both have like this just shot making ability from pretty much anywhere on the court they can get to. It's pretty amazing to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought long and hard about Paul Westphal, but Booker just had the better numbers.
Yeah. The Suns have some sneaky players that sneak up on you a little bit.
They did.
Make you think about it.
What do you think?
But yeah. Even though he hasn't played a long time, I feel like talent-wise,
He played longer than what I thought he did when I looked at it.
What
Yeah.
is he? What
He's
years
played
is he
like,
in?
6, 7?
8 years.
8
8
years.
years, yeah.
Yeah, because I was thinking when I was looking at
Yeah.
Paul Westphal, I thought, well, Paul was probably there a lot longer. Paul was only there 6.
No,
Booker's actually been there longer.
in my head, I'd probably, like, if I just would have guessed, I probably would have said, like, 4 or 5 years.
I would have too.
Yeah.
I was shocked when I saw that Booker played 8.
By the way, if you take out Booker's rookie season, he's career 25 points a game.
Yeah. He's just a nasty shooting guard.
Yeah, he is. He can score.
Yeah, he'll score.
All right. Well, does anybody else have anything to add on Booker before we move on? All righty. Uncle Doug, who is your small forward?
Well, this was hard for me because there was several guys I looked at, but I came back to Sean Marion.
Me too. Thank you.
I also have Sean Marion.
I do too.
It makes 5.
Wow,
I wanted one person to have Tom Chambers on a list, but he's a podcast legend.
He is,
We got to
he
give
is.
him.
He's been a legend since,
Like-
second episode?
I think so. It was a
Yeah,
James Worthy.
that was the Worthy episode.
Worthy
yeah.
episode, yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, Marion averaged about 18.5 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists, 1.9 steals, and 1.5 blocks. I mean, he just pretty much did it all.
He was the one guy that played defense on that Phoenix team.
Yeah.
He was
I
very
was shocked
good
he
at
didn't
it.
have any all defensive teams.
I know, me
Like,
too.
That's
Yeah,
like
I
his. Like obviously, young Sean Marion did all kinds of stuff on the floor, but even as he was aging, like he was always a great defender, and I think when I think of Sean Marion, I think of versatility and defense. Like,
Well, he was the guy that guarded LeBron the year the Mavericks won
and he was
beat them in
old
the
as
finals.
fuck.
Yeah, he
Like,
was so
Yeah,
old.
yeah.
He was old as dirt. I shouldn't have said the F word. My bad. But like him and Jason Kidd, there's a bunch of old guys out there guarding LeBron the whole series, and like Marion did good. He was still athletic, like, and in his prime, he was amazing. He did a lot of great stuff in his prime, not just defense. But
Yeah, 4-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA. He was, and you don't get a lot of small forwards averaging double-digit rebounds.
Right. Yeah, that was really impressive. I know Walter Davis was kind of a big Suns guy, and he averaged a couple more points than Marion, but couldn't come close to the rebounds.
yeah,
I mean,
most small forwards don't.
You know, one old school guy. I don't know if you guys have ever seen. You probably heard of him, but Connie Hawkins played about 5 years for the Suns, and he averaged a little over 20 and about 9 rebounds, but he just wasn't the defender that Marion was.
The other thing about Sean Marion is he put up 18 points a game for his Phoenix career, but they ran exactly 0 plays for Sean Marion in Phoenix.
Yeah.
Like, it was all hustle plays, spot up shooting, put back dunks, fast break dunks. Like, so like there was no like give Sean the ball in isolation or run him off screens for catch and shoot, like, which I'm not sure he could have pulled off with that goofy jump shot.
That was my next thing. Going to bring up a shot.
But he was also 48% from the field, 34% from three with that goofy looking shot, and 82% from the free throw line.
Such a goofy
My,
shot.
growing up, the most mimicked shot that all me and my friends did was Sean Marion, because when you were goofing off, acting like a jackass, like most teenagers do, you just want to be goofy, and everyone would just yell, Sean Marion, and then just jack up this little chest shot, and then just jack it up everyone. Everyone did it. And then, Sean Marion, and then you just hurry up and threw it from your chest. It was, everybody mimicked his shot.
Yeah, I remember those days.
Mm-hmm. You were probably there half the time when
Yeah.
I was running around the ballpark.
I probably threw up a couple Sean Marions myself.
Yeah.
But I also think Sean Marion is like one of those guys that is almost like perfect for a team like this, because he can score a little bit if you want him to, but he's never going to ask to, you guys need to give me the ball.
Right.
But he's going to do all the little things. He's going to play really hard defense. He rebounds just phenomenal for his position, but really just he's a good rebounder no matter what position, really. He's like you said, unselfish. He's efficient, like everything you want out of a role player. So he's a star role player, really.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He fits a perfect role in this team because you have two guys that are going to score a bunch.
He's not going to mess up the flow of the offense demanding the ball.
No.
He's going to get his stuff within the concept of the offense, and it won't affect other players.
Yep. And by the way, super, super freaky athlete.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy explosive.
He did have bounce. That's for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, are we moving towards the perfect week, gentlemen?
Maybe.
Working
Maybe,
on it.
yeah.
Did I just jinx us, or are we got? I feel like there's at least one more guy that has to be unanimous.
Yeah.
It'll be that fifth guy, whether I guess we'll have any questions or not.
I didn't have much trouble with either one of these last two.
No, I didn't either.
No, I didn't.
It was,
We might be.
Yeah. Ray. All right. Well, Ray, you're up. Who's your power forward?
Charles Barkley,
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
Yep.
Charles.
Yep.
Yeah.
23 and 11. If you ever go to San Antonio, he'll probably tell you where all the good-looking gals and churros are at. And he's not terrible. Took that Sun team to that NBA
Terrible.
Finals appearance against Jordan. They gave him a little fucking hell, but they did not come past Jordan. But it is what it is. Man could fucking rebound like nobody's business, and we can just go on from there.
Also with Barkley, I think we've discussed him pretty heavily in the 50 Greatest Players episodes, but he's also a very underrated passer. Another guy that was really, really explosive and stupid efficient. 57% from the that's in Philly. Sorry, 50% from the field, and in Phoenix. Damn, I can't keep track of what I'm doing. And so like he averaged 4 assists a game for a power forward. That's
good.
That's pretty nice.
I mean, we all put him in like our top 30 of like greatest players of all time, and that he never even won a championship. Like we just did that because of how great he was.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Like
I would agree.
speak of the Fat Devil, it's been on the TV the past 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he has 3 lines of
Oh, yeah, all his nicknames.
nicknames on
Oh.
NBA Basketball Reference. Sorry, man, I can't talk. So he's 11-time All-Star, 11-time All-NBA. All those did not come in Phoenix, but I'm not sure where they fall exactly. I mean, he didn't even play 11 seasons in Phoenix, so obviously they didn't all come there. He only played 4 seasons in Phoenix. But I'm going to guess he made 4 All-Star teams and 4 All-NBAs in Phoenix.
Oh, probably.
I mean, that's right there in the middle of his career.
Yeah, I would
Yeah, I
guess.
mean, the 1 year's the
And
MVP
in 1 year, he won the
yeah.
MVP.
Yeah, so yeah.
Yeah, so. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
he's 25 and 12.
There he
And,
wins MVP. Yeah. Honestly, you don't
and
hear
five assists.
You don't hear a lot of people push back a lot on the Carmelo MVP when they said it should have gone to Jordan. You don't hear a ton of pushback on the Barkley MVP.
No, Mark, who's been on the podcast quite a few times, if you just bring up Karl Malone being an MVP, he gets all fired up and is like, will argue that both MVPs are a sham. There's no reason that he should be an MVP. But he will not say that about Barkley. He's like, no, Barkley deserved his MVP.
The only one that doesn't say that is Michael. Michael is mad.
Michael gets mad at everything.
Well, we can look at it real quick.
I'm just shocked because I feel like they probably put up about the same
Yeah, but
numbers.
I don't.
Malone was 20 and 10 for like 18 straight years. I mean, in his prime, it gets you like 28.
Can't believe Mark would be
points.
mad about that one.
I mean, I'm not. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know what the difference is. I mean,
Well, okay, so the year Barkley won, Barkley was 25 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, 1.5 steals, and 1 block on 52% shooting. So that's
nasty.
a pretty impressive season.
It is.
Yeah.
And he did really elevate the Suns that year too.
Yeah, they went to the finals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I believe they were the number 1 seed.
Yeah, they had the best record in the NBA,
Yeah.
even better than the Bulls.
That's obviously going to factor in.
Yep. Then number 2 in the MVP voting, though, was Olajuwon. It wasn't even Jordan.
Oh.
And he averaged 26, 13, and 3 on 1.5 steals and 4 blocks
Well, by the
on
number-
53% shooting.
By the numbers, Olajuwon should have won the MVP. But
And then Jordan that year averaged 32 points,
maybe not.
6 rebounds, 5 assists, almost 3 steals on 49% shooting.
I don't know. MVP is really. We probably shouldn't just talk about MVP races and just compare numbers. Because I don't know. It's tricky.
People get lost in the hype each year. Like,
Yeah.
when you look back at it, you don't know like all the hype between.
Yeah.
Because like you can just each year is just different. Like someone comes out of nowhere and then they get a bunch of hype.
Someone like some players elevate their teammates more and their team more, and some people are just more like numbers people. I don't know. It's hard. Team success does go into it a lot too, and storylines. People like good storylines and might push certain things to the forefront. And there's a lot that goes into it, really.
While we're on the topic, I'm just going to pull up the Malone ones and see what we think here.
Well, I mean, what
All right,
year did he win the one? I know he won the one in '99 when Jordan was already gone.
Yeah, this is 95, 96.
95, 96. Okay, I didn't know what year it was.
So, or wait, 96, 97. I apologize. 96, 97. Karl Malone averaged 27 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, and 1.5 steals on 55% shooting. Michael Jordan averaged 29 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 1.5 steals on 48% shooting. So Jordan averaged 2 more points. Malone averaged 4 more rebounds. Sorry, they both averaged the same assists, same steals, same blocks. Malone shot 7% better from the field.
I mean, just by the numbers, it kind of sounds like Malone, like compared in those seasons. Like you can make it. I don't know.
Grant Hill came in third that year.
I mean, Grant Hill was a monster there for a while.
Then Tim Hardaway came in fourth.
Is that Warriors Tim Hardaway?
Nope, Miami.
Oh, okay.
Glenn Rice was next, and then Gary Payton. Then Olajuwon. Shaquille O'Neal came in 10th, averaging 26 and 12. 26 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, and 3 blocks on 55%.
And
He came in 10th.
And Glenn Rice and Tim Hardaway were better than him. Get the hell out of
Okay.
here. This is why we all shit on MVP.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh.
Let me see if you can guess who this is. This person came in 13th. Actually, 14th. Sorry, 14th. 26 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and 1.5 steals. Shot 42% from 3.
And what year is this?
96, 97.
Is this the shooting guy from the Nets that's dead?
No.
I can't remember his name.
He never averaged that many points.
No, okay. I mean, I don't know. It's too far back to think of.
It's Mitch Richmond.
Oh, yeah.
Now I'm going to assume that Sacramento sucked. That's probably why he was so far down the list.
Yeah.
But those are some nice numbers.
They are.
You know who came in 17th that year?
Oh, God. No.
Tom Gugliotta,
Oh boy.
just ahead of Allen Iverson, Wade's favorite player.
Oh, yeah. He can stay down there on the voting.
Also tied for 17th is Kevin Johnson, a player we were just talking about.
Yeah.
20 points, 3 rebounds, 9 assists, 1.5 steals on 49%, 44% from 3. Anyway, so I'm going to say that the first Karl Malone MVP is not a sham according to these numbers.
Well,
I don't know what their records were, but unless, you know, I mean, they went to the finals
That was
that
their
year.
first
didn't they?
finals run.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
they
it's
met
not
in
like
the
it's
finals.
not like Utah was bad.
They were always, weren't they? Every year they went to the finals, then they were the best team in the West both years, weren't they?
I think so.
Like I'm not
Yeah.
talking about like just making it to the championship, like record wise, weren't they?
Mm-hmm.
because they hosted both.
Finals.
We can look. Hold on.
Yeah, because
We know Jordan wasn't pushing out bad win-loss records in the regular season. So.
They were 64-18, second best record in the NBA.
Kind of sounds like Malone has a better case than Barkley, to be completely honest. Just, I mean, numbers isn't everything, but by the numbers, because when we compared him, Barkley to Jordan and then Malone to Jordan in those seasons, Malone was actually beating out and tying Jordan in multiple things, while Barkley pretty much beat him in rebounds, and they
Okay,
kind
so
of tied for assists.
here's the second season. Karl Malone's numbers were 23 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal on 49% shooting.
Which one? What are we?
This is the 99.
Oh, well, that's a strike shortened season. Everything was all wacky that year.
Number 2, I always thought it was Tim Duncan, but it's actually Alonzo Mourning with 20 points, 11 rebounds, 1 assist, and 4 blocks on 51% shooting. I'd say Alonzo Mourning had a pretty nice season.
I'd say so.
Duncan averaged 21 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and 2 blocks on 49% shooting. So I'd say Duncan's numbers are he averaged 2 less points, but 2 more rebounds, 2 less assists, but 2 more blocks. I mean, they're really comparable as far as that stuff goes. Shaq averaged 26 and 10 on 57%, but he
Good
came in
old Shaq.
6th.
Good old Shaq. 6. We're moving up a little bit, Shaq.
He squeaks one MVP out, you know.
That's still mind-boggling. He
It
only
is.
got
Him and Kobe. Yeah, Steve Nash had the same amount of MVPs as Shaq and Kobe combined.
Yeah.
That's dumb.
Something's wrong
Yeah.
there.
That makes you rethink about MVPs.
15 and 9 as an MVP
Like-
year.
One of them, I think. Yeah.
Jason Kidd came in 5th in the MVP voting. He averaged 17 points, 6 rebounds, 10 assists, and 2 steals.
Sounds like Jason Kidd.
Yeah.
He's a maniac. I love Jason Kidd.
Anyway, we should probably get back to
Probably do our center.
We really went on a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
big rabbit hole. All right. Well, I guess that leads us all the way around to me, unless somebody has anything to add on Barkley before we move on.
No, we've kind of talked about Barkley the last 2 weeks. And it wasn't Philly last week.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yes.
We've hammered him home here.
All right. Well, my center is Amari Stoudemire.
he's mine.
He's
Me
mine.
too.
Ray, what you got?
5.
Look at that. A unanimous week. Look at us, guys. It's our 3rd one.
Even all the positions are the same.
Yeah.
this time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amari.
Anticlimactic.
Well, so after we do it one time, we do not care. After we get further, all you did like, yay.
Well, when we did it in football for the very first
The
time, we
Bills.
screamed like
Yeah, we
maniacs.
were like throwing ourselves a party.
Now we sound depressed. Like,
Gosh
we're the
dang
dad
it.
character on Inside Out right now. And just, oh.
Amari's numbers in 8 seasons in Phoenix are 21 points, 9 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, and 1 block on 54% shooting from the field and 75% shooting from the free throw line. later in his career, he became a formidable three-point shooter, but not while he was in Phoenix. I think the thing you got to worry about with Amari is his lack of defense. He was a decent weak side shot blocker, but as far as actually playing defense regularly, he was not good at it. Or I should say he wasn't good at it. He didn't try at it very often.
Yeah.
And with him and Barkley both, you might have some problems defensively.
Your statement from earlier is going to be true again. Marion's going to be the only one playing defense.
Yeah, Sean.
Yeah.
He's just this time. Some of these players are better than who he had.
Some of these guys like try on defense. They're just not good defenders. You know. It's just
But he
not
also
good.
had some pretty big seasons, at least scoring wise. He has, a 26 and a couple 25 point per game seasons. He could score the ball and he could score it efficiently. The Steve Nash, Amari Stoudemire pick and roll in the middle of the floor surrounded by shooters was just, it tore the NBA up for like 6 or 7 years there. It was very hard for most teams to stop. And to be honest with you, I think Amari showed up a little bit too soon. If he showed up 10 years later, he might have been even better.
Mm-hmm.
His rookie year was 2002. If he just showed up in 2012 when there were no big men left in the league and he burst onto the scene, he might have just been even more of an absolute animal than he already
I think he'd
was.
still be playing right now.
Well, yeah.
I mean, he could still. There'd be no one. I mean, there'd be a couple big guys, but he could still be. Well, no injuries or anything, obviously.
Well, he tried to make a comeback. Was it last year or the year before? Because he went out and dominated in the Big Three, and then he had a couple tryouts for like Detroit and a couple other teams, I think. Obviously, it didn't work, but
Well, after he had that, was it a knee?
yeah,
He lost.
he
all that
had microfracture
explosiveness.
surgery.
Yeah, because he had that when he first signed that big contract with the Knicks or whatever it was, and he had that first season that was he tore it up, and then it was kind of just downhill after that, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, his first season in New York, he averaged 25 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 blocks on 50% shooting, 43% shooting from 3, and 79% from the free throw line. And then after that, he plays 47 games, 29 games. Like, he can't stay healthy.
No.
Well, him and Carmelo were supposed to, tear up the East together. That was the whole pairing.
Yeah.
And then, but Carmelo showed up, and Amari pretty much never played again. That was pretty much what happened.
Well, not only that, but Melo was throwing fits about what position he'd play, and they kept. So it was like because he didn't want to. He wanted to play the 4, and instead of the 3, so they it was a big mess. Let's just be honest. Melo's a very selfish basketball player. But anyway, we had a unanimous week with Kevin Johnson as our point guard, Devin Booker at shooting guard, Sean Marion at small forward, Charles Barkley at power forward, and Amari Stoudemire at center. Personally, I think this is a middle of the West type team. Not great, but also not bad. I think they'd be in the middle of the pack as far as the Western Conference, just thinking off the top of my head. Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'd say, like you said, middle of the pack team.
Yeah, it'll be some exciting games to watch because they're going to score a lot of points.
They are,
Yeah.
and they're very athletic. They'll get up and
Yes.
down probably.
Yes.
I think Kevin Johnson could run the pick and roll with Amari to at least similar success of Steve Nash. Booker could probably do it as well. And the only difference will be is they won't quite spread the floor like that Phoenix team with the three-point shooters. Kevin Johnson is not a great shooter. Booker's pretty good. Matrix is pretty good. Barkley's not that good, so no. That'll be an interesting thing. But they're very athletic, from top to bottom, but a little small. I mean, you're looking at 6'1", 6'5", 6'7", 6'6", 6'10". Not a huge team.
One thing they will have, though, over some teams is they have 4 guys that don't need set up to score. They can just have the ball in their hands and create all by themselves.
Yeah.
Only Marion's really the only one that couldn't consistently do it all the time. Like that's literally what Devin Booker does all the time.
Yeah.
He's always creating by himself. Kevin Johnson obviously was setting people up, but also getting his all the time. Barkley, it's Barkley. We all know what Barkley can do. And we just talked about what Amari could. Obviously he did run the pick and roll a lot, but he had post moves. You can get him on the break. You can do all kinds of stuff with him.
Well, they kind of like to give him the ball and like the block extended, where he was kind of out in that no man's land there, and he could turn around and face his man and then just blow by him because they would put big man on him, and he would just didn't have the foot speed to keep up with him.
Didn't he end up with a really good elbow jumper?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of offensive talent. I think they could win a round, maybe two, depending on a matchup.
Yeah, it kind of depends on the matchup.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be
I
good.
mean, Barkley got a team to the finals that didn't have near the talent of this. So, I mean, Barkley could put a team on his back and win a round or two. I don't remember where I ended up with Barkley on my 50 greatest players list total ranking wise, but
he was
Barkley's an all-time great. I mean,
yeah.
Barkley's a beast.
He was inside, I think, all of our top 5 or 6 in all-time power forwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think the main thing, the reason why people would look at this team and be like, kind of like, oh, maybe, well, there's not as many Hall of Famers or something like that. Well, if you just look at prime, how good all these guys were in their prime, I think they can hang with a lot of the upper tier teams just because Kevin Johnson's career was cut short. That's why he didn't make the Hall of Fame. Or is he in the Hall of Fame?
No, he's not.
He's not. Amari,
Injury.
Booker just hasn't played, he's in the middle of his career.
Yeah.
He's been in his
Yeah.
prime for 4 years now?
Probably.
So, we just haven't seen a ton of it yet. And, Marion's really besides Barkley, I guess, be the only, well, Barkley wasn't even with the Suns very long, to be honest. But
Yeah.
Barkley played a full career.
Yeah.
But
I mean, they only have one Hall of Famer as currently constituted, which doesn't look great on paper. But you're right. There's Kevin Johnson and Amari were on track to have Hall of Fame type careers before their injuries.
and Booker
Yeah.
is
And
on
Booker
track.
might be a Hall of Famer before it's
Right,
all said and
yes.
done. I mean, he's on that same track.
So there's
Man.
4 players with Hall of Fame. Either we're going to be in the Hall of Fame and just something crazy happened to him, and a guy that's probably on his way. It's you gotta kind of look at it through a different lens sometimes.
Alrighty, well, I think that wraps up our Phoenix Suns portion of this episode.
Oh, wait, hold on. Hey, Drew, what happened to Tom Chambers?
He didn't make the list.
Uh,
did not
well,
make
I
the
mean,
list.
Just fell short.
Oh no, Alex is looking him up. Here we
I
go.
am looking at
There
it,
we
man.
go.
20.6, 6.6, and 2.3.
Oh, look at that. He's a 20-point per game scorer in Phoenix.
He is.
It's ridiculous. Good thing Charles played. I couldn't.
Well, you're just lucky that Sean Marion's one of my all-time favorite players, or I would have put Tom Chambers on this list without a hesitation.
I thought about it even with Marion there, to be honest. If Chambers' all-around numbers were a smidge bit better, I might have pulled the trigger. Which he wasn't. He wasn't bad. He had some nasty seasons in there.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Chambers.
Who would have thought?
He became a part of this podcast 3 years ago, and we still talk about him.
Yeah.
However long ago it's been.
There are certain people that just get brought up.
Well, I mean, almost every single person in this room. I was actually thinking about this the other day. I was texting Wade about something. I was texting Wade about Drew, actually.
Oh boy.
I was like, I said something about something along the lines of we should get Drew a Chris Paul jersey for Christmas or something. And then he's like, man, we're actually starting to load up on players Drew hates. That's becoming Drew's thing. He has all sorts of players he hates, and we were naming them. And then I was like, then Wade and I's conversation was over, but I was sitting down thinking about it. And I was like, we all have guys, not necessarily that we hate, but guys that are get brought up on our behalf all the time, like Wade and Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
It's
Allen
that's always saying,
Iverson.
and we
Yeah.
and AI, yeah, and Bob Cousy,
Yeah. Well,
yeah, and then for Ray, every other podcast we have to have a conversation about Miles Turner.
Oh, Charles Oakley got brought up.
Charles Oakley,
Kevin
yeah.
Love.
Kevin Love, yes,
Yep.
yes,
Kevin McHale right here to my left.
yes,
Steph
yeah.
Curry's status as a point guard.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know who Tom Chambers falls under, me or
Yeah, that's
or
a little
Drew,
bit of
but yeah, I bring him up positively. He brings him up negatively.
I got to even it out. I can't let him get a bunch of love.
Does Uncle Doug only have one?
I don't.
Is it just
he was
McHale?
Uncle Doug was the one I was struggling with because I wasn't even honestly sure that Kevin McHale was his because I didn't. I was like Kevin McHale might be his.
I mean, I don't know.
You know what I'm saying? Like Uncle Doug doesn't have like these boisterous opinions that he like spouts off all the time. You know, like he told us, I'm not putting Kevin McHale on my list, but it wasn't like he was like and like really like jabberjawing us about Kevin McHale. That was him. You know,
Guys,
so like,
we're forgetting the GOAT, Bob Pettit.
oh yeah, Bob Pettit, yeah. There's you do have somebody positive, yes.
And
You're not just all
Tarzan, Arizona.
Yeah, Paul
whatever
Arizona.
his name is.
Yeah.
Arizona.
The guy no one ever knew that went to go be a banker or whatever. That guy
was
was a part of
salary.
our podcast for a while.
Was he the banker or was he IBM?
I think he's
don't
IBM.
I think he might have been IBM. I think you're right. Yeah.
Same difference. It's fine.
Yeah, that's great. But yeah, I was like, you know, we all have those people that get brought up, and like people poke at us with them.
I noticed that in our football ones too. I was talking about the other day.
Clay Thompson's to my right.
Yes, Clay. Yes,
You had a
Clay.
thing with Klay Thompson recently.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's very true. And we all kind of have a
Boy.
thing with LeBron. Like LeBron gets brought up, and we all five kind of go off on tangents.
We definitely need a LeBron fan in our podcast to balance things out because we really just
We need a Cowboys fan.
like
Yeah.
Yeah.
anybody that's a big LeBron James fan is not going to like our podcast.
LeBron James, Emmett Smith, they all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
There's a lot of
like-
pooping on
Yeah,
just the
that's-
Cowboys. The
yeah.
Cowboys we crapped on Troy Aikman quite a bit.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, we
quite a
did.
bit.
I'll take credit for the part of that. Well, anyway, I was before we get too far off on this tangent, we've decided to try something different for our second segment for a while. Maybe even for quite some time, but we are going to start doing what ifs for our second segment. So each week, one of us will be tasked with bringing a what if scenario that we have to discuss. And this week, our candidate is Wade. This was his idea, his brainchild or whatever, so we decided Wade could do it first. So, Wade, what is your what if for this week?
Well, I thought for the first one, we could do a pretty cool one that would be close to a couple of us in this room. And that would be my first what if is, what if Vince Carter and T-Mac never left Toronto? That is my first what if. You know, would they have ruled the East for a while? Would they have ever gotten over the hump? Would they have ruined other people's championship runs or dynasties or any of that? Would VC and T-Mac be enough to push Toronto over the hump? Or maybe would they be a dynasty? Who knows?
I don't know.
I want to see the years when Alex pulls
It's a
this up.
tricky,
I want to see the years. Like,
because it would be,
I'm still trying to think of who else is on those Raptors teams.
Right. That's what I was trying to think of.
When
too, the
did-
years and
well, if they both stay there for a while, then
Doesn't Bosch show?
Bosch shows up,
Yeah.
but then they wouldn't get Bosch if they're really, really
Yeah,
good.
Bosch was taken with like the number 4 overall pick. So if they're
Yeah.
both there in their primes, they don't have the
Yeah,
number 4
probably
overall
agree with
pick.
that.
But they had like Mo Pete, who was solid, smaller
Yeah,
wing.
Morris Peterson was there.
Yeah.
What's the power forward? Was last name? Was it Amir Johnson? Big rebound. I think he led the league in rebounds a couple
he played
years.
with DeRozan and
Oh,
Lowry
he played with DeRozan
early,
and Lowry.
like,
Okay.
because he was there with like Valanciunas and Young.
Oh,
All right. So T-Mac's last year in Toronto. Here's the roster: Muggsy Bogues, D. Brown, Vince Carter, obviously, Doug Christie,
Christie was okay.
Del Curry, Antonio Daniels. There's a good one. Antonio Daniels was there for a
Del
while.
Curry could shoot.
Yeah.
What about one of the Davis boys? Was he there yet?
Antonio, I know, was
Yeah,
there for.
that's
a
what I
little
just said. Antonio Davis.
Oh, okay.
Antonio Lang. I don't know who that is. He played for Duke, so he probably sucked. Sean Marks was there.
Sean Marks.
T-Mac. Another podcast favorite, Charles Oakley, was there.
Oh,
Alexander Radojevic.
you have to think of the East back then, though. The East lacked a lot of talent.
You had AI's Sixers. You
Yeah.
had Ray Allen's Bucks.
The Bucks were kind of the big deal because they had the three-headed monster.
Well, T-Mac in Orlando and Vince in Toronto were in the playoffs every year.
Yeah, and they're
by themselves.
And their supporting cast sucked. Allen Iverson. I mean, we talked about Allen when Allen Iverson made his finals run. Like, he's not playing with 15 Hall of Famers.
You had the Pacers, Reggie, the end of Reggie's.
Yeah,
at that time.
There
wasn't like
one
a
star
dominant
and a bunch of rugged role players. That's kind of what
who
you
could
had.
make a run of the playoffs.
And then you just had the Lakers that came along with Shaq and Kobe, who just killed everybody.
So their last year together, when T-Mac was not T-Mac yet, they were 45 and 37. They finished third in their own division. Damn. And they lost in the first round of the playoffs to the Knicks.
Yeah, but T-Mac at that point is averaging like 14, 15 points a game
Let's look here.
in his last year in Toronto.
His last year in Toronto, he averaged 15 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists.
So he was coming along.
Steal and 2 blocks, actually.
Yeah. I mean, he does say that the Toronto years did help him develop a lot because he was so young when he came in.
Mm-hmm.
But he had some disagreements with certain people near the end, so he wanted to leave. But I mean, I think the most interesting part is like the few years after that, when Vince is still Vince and T-Mac becomes T-Mac. Yeah. If they would have stayed together for their next contract run, I mean, you have Vince Carter in his prime and T-Mac in their prime.
Could they have gotten past the Pistons with Wallace and all them? Because that's who they would have battled there, right?
It's really going to depend on the supporting cast.
Yeah.
Because if you have T-Mac and Vince with a bunch of junk around them, no, they would not have beat that Pistons team. And they may not have been able to beat some other teams.
Well, it depends. What year does T-Mac go to Toronto? So it would be like the first year where they're both superstars.
You mean what years did he go to Orlando?
Yes, sorry.
His first year in Orlando is 2000, 2001.
So that's when the Lakers are winning championships.
Yeah, they would have played the Lakers the next 2 years.
But T-Mac's two biggest seasons are 02-03 and 03-04.
So,
okay. Well, I mean, Vince is still putting up good numbers then.
So, and let's just look at 02-03. 02-03. Trying to do 2 pages here. Sorry. And 02-03. Actually, Vince was hurt and didn't play that much.
Well, that sucks.
he still averaged 20 points a game, but not.
Yeah, and then his next season is he only averaged 22. His big seasons are why T-Mac was on the rise, but not at his peak.
He goes to New Jersey and he averages like 26.
Yeah, because he
in his half season with
his
New
first
Jersey.
season T-Mac is gone. He averages 27, which is his top scoring season of his career.
Gotcha.
Now, he averages 27 and T-Mac averages 25. Now, would they have done that playing together? Maybe not to that level.
If the role players all suck, they're going to probably have a lot of shots.
Yeah.
I mean,
but let's look a couple seasons in. By the time T-Mac is a beast, hold on, I just messed that up. By the time T-Mac is a beast, what does Toronto's supporting cast look like?
oh God, who knows?
You have Rafer Alston.
Yeah.
Antonio Davis is still there. Greg Foster is now there. They like those Indiana big men, apparently. Lindsey Hunter, Chris Jeffries, Vashawn Leonard, Mo Pete, Alvin Williams, and Jerome Williams. There's not much there still.
Pretty much Mo Pete.
Yeah, there's.
Mo Pete was a solid good
So you're looking at a starting 5 of like Allen Williams, Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, and then probably
Antonio Davis.
Antonio Davis is one of the 2 big men, and
So then Mo Pete would have to be the 6th man.
yeah, Mo Pete would probably have to be 6th man because he's going to play the 2 positions T-Mac and Vince play.
I guess it gives you kind of helps with your depth. I guess you have a good player that could run your second unit. I just think with the way the talent was distributed back then, and there just didn't seem to be
They'd have about.
I don't see a reason they couldn't have done what AI did.
Yeah, they could have made it. They could have made at least a finals appearance.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
they're beating the Lakers when the Lakers are good.
No, because Shaq. No one's going to stop Shaq.
Would they have beat Tim Duncan?
Yeah, I was gonna say they're gonna have to beat the Spurs.
Right.
I don't.
Well,
Oh yeah, and then
Was it 01? 01 when Vince almost took them to the finals?
yeah, he was
that
in the,
T-Mac?
What year was it they were in the Eastern Conference
Right.
Finals?
I think it's 2001. They had a
The year-
series with the 76ers.
Yeah.
yeah, that would have went to the
And
finals.
Just think if T-Mac had been there with Vince, and this question, Wade's question, was actually put to Kobe Bryant. He did an interview at one point with something called Slam Magazine, talking about those teams, and his opinion was the Raptors would have won championships if T-Mac and Vince had stayed together. Because Kobe thought a lot. I mean, respected those two a lot.
Oh yeah, they were all kind of came up together.
You know, and he always
Yeah.
talked very highly of T-Mac.
That'd been a fun finals walk, Shaq and Kobe against T-Mac and Vince.
Yes.
Two dominant wings against a dominant wing and a dominant big man. I mean, no one ever stopped Shaq anyway, so it doesn't really matter if they have a Hall of
they-
Famer or not.
yeah.
He's
Who
going
cares
to
who
get
the-
30 and 15. It's just what's going to
Well,
happen.
I think if, and maybe this is blasphemy to some people, but I think Vince and T-Mac could have put up a better fight than AI did, simply for the fact what the Lakers did is we're just not going to let AI beat us.
Right.
But you can't do that when there's two of them.
Yeah, you can't double Vince and T-Mac.
Right.
Yeah.
I would
Right.
say once the Lakers, they just had. It wasn't the no, it was. Oh, who did they have guard? Oh, I see his face.
Tyrone Lue.
Yeah, that's who I thought it wasn't.
Yeah, but they essentially, not only did they Tyronn Lue was on him, but they were sending doubles at him. But not only that, but they were putting him on the ground a lot. They were fouling him hard. Shaq had some hard fouls on him in that series, but they were like that's when you guys had a whole bunch of scrub power forwards like Marky Walker and
Devin
Mark
Jordan.
Matson and all those guys. And they would just come in and
Old
use their
Horace
fouls.
Grant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Horace
Yeah,
Grant
Rick
was there that
Fox.
year.
Yeah, Horace Grant.
Rick
Rick
you know.
Fox
Fox.
did a lot of dirty work for that team.
Yeah,
Rick
like
Fox
you know,
was good.
there was a
Derek
lot of
Fisher.
AI having to pick himself up off the floor. Why guys using their fouls on him and roughing him up a little bit. Which I'm not bashing. I'm just saying like you couldn't. I mean, yeah, you could rough them up, but I mean, like you couldn't just concentrate everything on Vince and let T-Mac score 40
You
tonight.
can't just
Right.
beat the shit out of one guy because another
Yeah.
guy can score.
It's different
Right.
when you have two.
That's what they did.
Yes.
You can't. Yeah,
I mean, that's just the league was kind of
In that series, the Toronto Philadelphia series, the year we're talking about, Iverson averaged 33, 4, and 7, and 3 steals. Jeez. While shooting 40% from the field and 43% from 3
that's lucky. Get out of there.
and 79% from the free throw line. So he had a pretty decent series. He was a little inefficient from the field, but 33, 4, 7 assists, and 3 steals. That's pretty good, but nobody else did anything.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's probably the.
I mean, you
Wait,
got
which
you
series
got
are you talking
Dikembe going 11 points, 12 rebounds, and 3 blocks.
defense player of the year.
Yeah, defensive player
That
of the
finals
year,
team had the coach
Didn't
of the
they have
year, the
everything?
sixth man of
Yeah.
the year, the MVP, and the defensive player of the year award all on the 76ers team.
But then you have Vince, who went 30 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals and 2 blocks on 47% shooting, 42% from 3, and 84%. But here's the thing. The rest of the team was awful.
See, that tells you how bad the East was when both teams in the Eastern Conference Finals had one player.
Mo Pete averaged 7 points, 1 rebound, and 2 assists.
Oh.
This is the guy that we were talking about being the third best player on this team.
He had some okay years.
Obviously not this series. The Sixers had his number.
Like I always remember him being an okay, decent basketball player.
He was. I mean, Mo Pete's a role player for sure, but I mean,
yeah.
he was a fine player for a long time. I
He's
mean,
not a career triple single,
That's
so we're
that's
good
how
there.
the NBA was distributed
his
back then. Like,
his career numbers in Toronto in 7 seasons, he averaged 12 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal.
I missed the first part. What was his points?
12.
12.
Oh, so yeah, he was
Yeah.
a decent
Been
role
a
player.
So
decent role
apparently,
player, yeah.
either the pressure got to him, or he was hurt, or well, that Philly team was pretty stifling on defense. Let's be honest. I mean,
No, yeah.
outside of AI, they were
built
really
a
going to
defensive juggernaut around Allen Iverson. That's why they got to the finals.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So if you put T-Mac on this team, it already had to go 7, and nobody helped Vince. So I say if T-Mac's on this team, they're in the NBA Finals.
And they're
Now we're discussing whether they're going to beat Shaq and Kobe,
Right.
who haven't lost a game yet.
I don't think they beat Shaq and Kobe,
Probably
but
not.
I do think they
Not-
win more than one
They
game.
make it a series.
I definitely
Yeah.
don't think they'd beat him that year. But the
Later
the
on,
years going on after that, if they both stay in Toronto, what like you said, T Mac keeps getting better. And it sounds like Vince did have injury struggles in Toronto, but then he then gets it back together when he went to the Nets. And
Vince was also pouting.
oh yeah, he pretty much refused to play. That's how he got out.
Yes, so I'm saying like he may not have done that if he's playing with his cousin and they're actually winning some things. I'm not saying they're winning championships, but they're at least contending in the East.
Yeah, I mean he played his way out of Toronto. It's not a secret. But I thought it was a very intriguing question because I mean just the way the talent was back then, like there just seemed to be a weird time of talent. I mean Boston had a good run shortly after that just because they had two good players on their team. They had Paul Pierce and Antoine Walker, and they were almost making the finals.
And I would say Paul Pierce is on par with these guys,
Yeah.
but Antoine Walker is not.
No. I mean, Shaq and Kobe dominated the entire NBA because they had two stars. 'Cause
Well, yeah,
it
and
just-
you think about this. The Nets went to back-to-back finals with Jason Kidd, Richard Jefferson, and Kenyon Martin.
Yeah.
and Jefferson, like we said, wasn't really Richard Jefferson yet. His best years came later.
Not only that, but it's not like I like Kenyon Martin. I think Kenyon Martin was a quality NBA player.
Yeah, he was
but
fine.
he's not a guy getting you to finals.
No.
Like we talked about, in one of the years they went to the finals, he averaged 14 and 5. 14
Yeah.
and 5, and he was their second best player.
yeah, no.
Like that's just the way the NBA was in that time period. I don't know why. I don't have answers for
Yeah.
it, but that's
I mean,
just the way it
just-
was.
If you could have
The talent
two
pool.
stars,
Mhm.
you were going a long, long ways.
You were.
That's just the way they all thought. Like you didn't. I mean, you left like a little bit, but like it wasn't like you were just people were teaming up all the time. It's just where you ended up at.
I think that's kind of what makes lots of people. I mean, obviously, everyone knows Kobe and Shaq were one of the most unstoppable dynasties ever, but it's also kind of discouraging because they couldn't get along and they separated when they were so dominant. Like, Shaq was the best player in the NBA, and by the time they won like their third title, Kobe might have been the second best player in the NBA, and they were on the same
And they had
team.
good role players.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Like, and they just demolished everyone. And if they could have just kept their chemistry on par, like with the lack of talent in the early 2000s, they might have been able to win 4 or 5. You know, it's a strong possibility.
keep the egos in check.
Yeah.
but
I mean, it's hard to say that Duncan wouldn't keep sneaking in there because that bastard did it for 20 years. He just kept sneaking in there and getting titles, sneaking in here, sneaking in there.
yeah.
But
So I'm looking at Vince Carter's last year in Toronto. This is by far the best roster he plays with.
okay.
Now, again, he's pouting, so they didn't do anything. But if he's not pouting, this may be his best shot, especially if T-Mac's there. Because they've added Jalen Rose, who in back-to-back seasons there averaged 16 and 18. So, quality player. Mo Pete is still there.
My boy. I got a new guy.
They still have Antonio Davis. They also add Donyell Marshall, who averaged 16 points a game and 8 rebounds. So, I mean, and he's a three-point shooter, so he helps spread the
We're
floor.
getting better quality role players already.
Exactly. You're adding quality role players.
I mean, honestly, if you had Vince and T-Mac, and I mean, you wouldn't need Jalen Rose because you could spend the money on a different position because he played the same position as one of them. If you got them a good, solid big man to do a bunch of the dirty work down low, and just a quality role player point guard to help set people up, in that era, they would have been unstoppable, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You get them a decent point guard to help get the ball to them, and a quality role-playing big man that did some dirty work. I think they would have been contending for championships.
Saying, like we've said, the East was so bad.
That's why it's shocking the Bucks didn't go farther. They had Sam Cassell, Ray Allen, and Big Dog, all on the same team. And I think they had Vin Baker. For
I
a
was
while,
gonna say,
too.
and Vin.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
gonna say, wasn't Vin
Yeah.
Baker there with him for a year or two?
Like that's 4
All
legit
stars.
all-stars.
Yeah.
And they never made it to a finals.
And then, what?
No.
I know Ray Allen's a Hall of Famer. Did either one of the Big Dog or Cassell make the Hall?
I want to say no. Cassell was always a really good player, but I don't think he ever reached superstar status or anything. And Robinson, I think, was always really good, but maybe a low-end all-star player. But I think he would have had to extend his career quite a ways for him to make the Hall of Fame, probably. After his injury, everything kind of went downhill.
So let's just go around the room real quick. We'll start with Drew. What is your consensus here, Drew? What do you think Toronto looks like if they both are there 5 more years?
5 more years there we go.
5 more years after T-Mac actually left. If he'd have stayed for 5 more years, one more contract, what do you think is the outlook for Toronto?
I say they get at least a championship.
A championship, okay.
Yeah, and I think they make at least, without injuries or anything like that, I think they make the Eastern Conference Finals at least 4 out of the 5 years, probably. I mean, I don't see why they couldn't.
Yeah.
I think they at least sneak one in because Kobe and Shaq are going to break up towards the end. And I think by the end of that, they can beat the Pistons at least once. Now, it'd be interesting to have to play Tim Duncan because that's who the Pistons played.
Go back and look at the 04-05 Spurs championship team that beat that Pistons team. Duncan plays with a bunch of trash cans and carries them to I shouldn't say all trash cans. They had some decent role players, but we're not talking about a bunch of superstars.
Probably that last year that T-Mac and Vince would be together, they would have to play young
All right,
LeBron.
I got you here. The
Which I think-
04-05 San Antonio Spurs are Brent Barry, Bruce Bowen, sorry.
Yeah. Bruce Brown.
Devin Brown, Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Dion Glover, Robert Ory, Linton Johnson, Sean Marks, Tony Massenberg, Nazir Mohammed, Rasho Nesterovic, Tony Parker, Glenn Big Dog Robinson, Malik Rose, Bueno Udrih, and Mike Wilkes.
But Ginobili and Parker aren't. They're not dominating yet. At least Parker's not. I don't know about Ginobili, but I think Parker's still super young. Then
Let's look at these stats here.
he might be playing, but I don't think they're super. I don't think they're stars
They're not
yet.
Tony
super-
Parker
yeah.
averaged 16 points and 6 assists.
So he's getting there.
Duncan is Duncan.
Duncan's always done.
Ginobili is 16 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists.
They're doing good.
Yeah, and their next leading scorer is Big Dog Robinson at 10 points.
Yeah. Ginobili and Parker are all on their way up. Duncan's in his prime, and then a bunch of old veterans.
Yeah, Big Dog and Robert Ory and Brent Barry are all on their way out of the league.
But
I
think
mean, they're solid veterans, but they're not gonna win you games.
But think about, it's not prime Parker or Ginobili yet, and they have Duncan, but you got to go against prime Vince and prime T-Mac.
Yeah.
And Duncan's not guarding either one of them.
No.
No.
I mean, Duncan's going to do Duncan things no matter who's on whose team. I mean, he's the greatest power forward of all time. He's going to do what he does. But
I think they could sneak one out. I think you could see the Raptors and Spurs playing multiple times.
I agree.
You could kind of them seeing I'm not saying as many years as the Warriors and Cavs did, but kind of like that mid 2000s there, probably for 04 to 07 maybe, playing a couple times in the finals probably.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the other thing to think about is we haven't brought up yet is if T-Mac and Vince are playing together in Toronto for this 8-year run.
Mm-hmm.
At what is there a point during that where some guys be like, I want to go play with them? Not superstars, but I mean role players saying, I'm going to go to Toronto because they don't suck.
Well, that's usually how. I mean, that's usually
That's
how
what
it goes.
happens when you get 2 superstars. Other people are like, hey, they got a chance to win. I'll go hop on that.
Yeah.
I'll test it out.
You get all the guys that used to be good NBA players that are aging veterans now that want a ring, and they still have some decent basketball left in their old knees. They always go sign up with those teams, like David West did with the Warriors and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
People always, Karl Malone and Gary Payton trying to get one with the Lakers and
Well, Gary Payton did get one with the Heat.
get out of town.
Well, that'd be another.
No,
that'd be
he did.
another team to play with them. Dwayne Wade and Shaq against.
Well, their year was what?
06.
06?
Yeah.
So yeah, if we kept Vince and T Mac together for another 4 or 5 years, 6 years, yeah, they'd hit him around the end of that
Yeah.
next like. Yeah.
And they could have played Dirk a year because he made a couple. And then he made a couple Western Conference Finals against.
Well, he made the
Tim
finals
Duncan. Well,
against the Dwayne Wade one.
But then he make a couple against the Spurs.
A Western Conference Finals? Yeah. I mean, maybe. I mean, they had some good teams back then.
All right, so we got Drew's opinion here. Wade, what's your final say on the 8-year Toronto run?
I'm pretty in line with Drew. I think they could have got one championship. I think due to the way, obviously Shaq and Kobe, it's hard to see people beating Shaq and Kobe, but their best bet would have been the end of Shaq and Kobe, around that time. Maybe around their last championship through the next 2 or 3 years, I think they would have had good opportunities to dominate the East and maybe win a title. And then, kind of like Drew said, borrowing major injuries, it would be, I think they could make a lot of deep playoff runs. It's hard to say that they would be like a dynasty or win, rattle off all these championships. But I think one, is a strong possibility. Especially like with my whole point for the past 20 minutes has been there wasn't a ton of talent in the East back then.
Well, I mean, there's
Or really
talent, but it's
NBA.
it's all spread out. Like,
Yeah.
you had probably one really good player on every team.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
it just
it.
wasn't not like how the NBA seems these days, There's teams that are, you have like 5 or 6 teams that are all super teams, the top of the NBA, and then you got a couple teams with a couple really good players, and you got your shit teams, and
Yeah, and
things
I think
are more spread out back then.
And I think it's a different conversation if Toronto was in the West, because the West did have some nice top-heavy teams like the Lakers, like the
Kings.
Spurs, like the Kings, like Portland,
Dallas.
even Dallas.
yeah.
Yeah, like I think in the West it's a little bit of a different conversation. But Wade's right. The East at that time was really weak.
It was it.
Well, I mean,
The East
every
kinda sucked.
every year for like 4 or 5 years, it was a different team going to the finals
Yeah.
until the Nets.
I mean, that
Yeah.
Detroit Pistons team, who had 5 good quality starters. They didn't really have any, I want to say superstars, but 5 good NBA players. Some of them better than others.
They had 4 All-Stars.
Yeah. But I mean, even as that team was aging quite a bit, they were making the Eastern Conference Finals every year.
Yeah, they
They
made
were-
the Eastern Conference Finals like 6 straight seasons, didn't they? Or something
And
stupid
some
like
of their
that.
most
Yeah.
important players were getting old and run down, and their production was going down, and they were still making the Eastern Conference Finals every single year.
But there just wasn't a big talent. Like,
I mean-
teams, like really talented teams. They're all kind of at the same. And whoever
Yeah.
just could win the series moved
They
on.
used their chemistry and their defense and their depth of quality players, and they ran the East for a half a decade and got a title out of it, got multiple finals appearances out of it. I mean, yeah.
All right, Uncle Doug, what are your thoughts?
I don't think they get past the Lakers. I kind of agree with Drew and Wade, but I do think they get a title. Those 2 or 3 years after Kobe and Shaq broke up, there's opportunity for them there.
Yeah.
And, you can, if they're winning, if they're going to finals, which they could have played Shaq and Kobe a time or two in the finals, you'll pull in those role players. You can overcome a little of the don't want to play in Toronto, don't want to be in Canada. There was some of that back
Yeah.
then. So you're going to get guys that'll chase a title, that'll go spend a year or two. And I think they get one. I really do.
Ray?
I mean, I say it's possible, but I mean, I'd have to see what kind of roster moves they can make and whatever else before I'd have to say definite. But I mean, there's a possibility. I'm not doubting that. But I mean, for the roster they had, like Antonio Davis and Oakley and Jalen Rose coming in, they were all aging, and they were probably going to be out within like the next 3 years anyway. So I'd just really like to see what kind of moves they would make before I'd say, yeah, I mean, but I mean, it's very possible.
I'm kind of in between. I do like what Drew said. I think there would be a quite a few Eastern Conference Finals appearances. I think they would have been one of the best teams in the East year in, year out, and would have been able to battle for Eastern Conference supremacy pretty regularly. I do think they could have quite easily at least made a finals appearance. I mean, we kind of discussed the Philadelphia year. They pushed Philadelphia to the brink without T-Mac.
Yeah.
So maybe I don't think it's a big thing to say that they could have at least made the finals that season.
And we don't even need like prime T-Mac. We just need like
A little
Yeah.
bit.
20 points a night.
Yeah,
Like I'm not asking for 30 T-Mac. Just
yeah.
a little help.
just give Vince somebody. Yeah.
Someone that can score more than 7.
Someone that can outplay Mo Pete. Let's go. Yeah, motherfucker.
Wade's bragging on him the whole time. We're like, and he averages 7 points and 1 rebound.
7, 1, and 2. Yeah. Whatever.
No,
Make
but
me look like an idiot.
I'm not willing, as much as I want to, I'm not willing to say I think they would have won a title, but I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
I think we brought up a lot of good points on the weakness of the East, and after the Shaq and Kobe years are over, the vacuum that has kind of started because of that. So I will say it's a possibility that they could get a title, but I wouldn't go out and say I think they do win a title. What Ray said, about some of the aging guys they played with, Oakley and Davis and Rose and guys like that. I think they would have been nice pieces to be veterans and be leaders and things like that and give you some minutes, some of them more than others. But I do think in order to be a title contender, they would have had to add a few free agents or something, role players to help out with that. But I think it's also possible because you're going to get to play with 2 superstars.
Oh, yeah.
So
much easier.
Every great team has to have good role players. I mean,
Yeah,
Shaq
yeah.
and Kobe had to have Derek Fisher and Rick Fox and all those guys to win. So, I mean, the role players,
So we can go through any championship team. They have role players.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
But yeah, I think that's all I got. I think that was a good question. I wasn't expecting it. That wasn't what I was expecting. But hey, I like
the
that.
first one.
Yeah,
favorite
it was a
player,
good
your
one.
favorite player. Be a good.
Next week will be my turn to come up with my what if. I will not give any hints as of yet, but I think my what if will be interesting. We would appreciate some emails, some comments, some subscriptions, some thumbs up, whatever. We would like all those things. Please, or we appreciate you listening to this week's Phoenix Suns episode. We would appreciate you tuning in next week for our Portland Trailblazers episode. And thanks for tuning in to Sports the NEMO Way.